Before the iconic opening lines of Genesis burst forth from the silence, before the exhilarating command, "Let there be light," shattered the darkness, an ancient struggle raged in the cosmic abyss. This was no ordinary chaos or rebellion. It was a forgotten clash between two powerful divine families, one eternal, the other destined to bring God's grand plan to fruition. While the Bible begins with the stunning tale of creation, it doesn't usher in serene harmony. Instead, it opens with an empty void, a vast expanse devoid of detail about what was sacrificed to carve out the universe. No chronicles of the extraordinary beings who existed before the dawn of light, nor whispers of those who dared to resist the divine decree. The book of Job offers a glimpse into this enigma, posing the provocative question, "Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth, when all the sons of God shouted for joy?" Job 38:4-7. But what were they truly celebrating, or perhaps rebelling against it? Long before humanity took its first breath, before the splendor of the Garden of Eden unfolded, and before angels fell from grace, there stood the kings. Immortal and timeless, these regal beings were deeply entwined with the essence of eternity. When the sons of God descended to seize their dominion, these kings would not yield. They retained memories of what heaven sought to erase. Creation did not commence in tranquility, it ignited in a fierce struggle. And the truth of this epic saga was never meant for your eyes to see, until now. Time isn't the origin, it's the scar left behind when eternity was ripped apart. Before that scar gave birth to light, before Genesis breathed its first word, there stood thrones. These thrones were silent, steadfast, and ancient, older than laws, even older than light itself. They weren't created or put in place, they simply were. They didn't rise in heaven or ignite in celestial flames. They loomed in the veiled realms, mysterious domains beneath creation, where sheer will-shaped substance and presence wielded true power. No choirs were singing, no decrees were proclaimed, only an unyielding, unassailable order, the very definition of eternity. The ancients called them Elyonim Shekadem, the most highs of the before. They were not gods, nor angels, nor mere men. They were kings. Their dominion extended not over planets or stars, but over the very balance that gave the cosmos its form and substance. They weren't born. They were woven into the fabric of existence itself. Their rule came not from command, but from nature. Where they stood, reality confirmed its place. Where they turned, time began to flow. They were the symmetry that held, all in perfect tension. Neither creators nor servants, but vigilant watchers before anything was worthy of observation. They bore no crowns, wore no names, and wore no forms. No one worshipped them, as no mortals existed to do so. Temples were never erected in their honor, oaths were never sworn. They existed, ancient and absolute. And when the voice of God echoed through the deep, it didn't echo into silence. It crashed against a tide of memory. The psalmist penned, "God stands in the divine council. He judges among the gods." Psalm 82:1. Who were these gods, and when did they fall under such judgment? Why would the one true God need to stand amongst any others at all? Long before angels held titles, before celestial bodies hung in the night sky, before the sons of God graced the earth, these kings kept watch. They weren't appointed, nor were they crowned. Their authority didn't flow from heaven. It was inherent, instinctive. And when the voice that commanded, "Let there be," began to sculpt the void, they did not resist. They remained, steadfast and strong. But remaining is not surrender. Watching does not equal submission. The thrones did not kneel, they endured. In their immovable stance they remembered. Memory is a throne older than time itself, and silence is not always acquiescence. When the veil was torn and light burst into the void, The kings didn't speak. They did not flee either. They waited not in fear but with profound awareness. They knew what heaven would send. They recognized those who would come to claim dominion, radiant and righteous beings. But not the first. The tale of creation starts with a single word. Yet the true beginning, the forgotten beginning, was steeped in what that word sought to replace. It began with thrones, with unchallenged sovereignty, with kings who never bowed, because there was no one yet worthy to command them. The stage was set, and the cosmic drama was about to unfold. When the thrones of the immortal kings fell silent, a storm stirred in heaven. Not a tremor of uncertainty, but a deliberate movement of purpose. For in the celestial realm, silence was never just an absence of sound. It was defiance waiting to be unleashed. From the timeless heights above, God sent forth his mightiest forces. These weren't mere messengers flitting about. They were the Bene Elohim, the radiant sons of God. Clad in glory and forged in the fire of creation, they weren't here to create but to dominate. They descended not as gentle emissaries, but as powerful heralds of a new era. Their arrival was not a whisper, but a thunderous declaration. This realm now belonged to heaven. The immortal kings did not rise to confront them. They remained steadfast, watching the radiant beings who dared to rewrite the very fabric of their existence. The thrones stood unmoving, yet heaven felt their lingering awareness. They remembered everything. The suns traversed the cosmic depths, charting uncharted territories. They sang celestial structures into existence, sculpting heavens above the swirling waters and planting stars like flags of conquest. Yet with every step they took, a heavy burden of judgment hung in the air. Not chaos, but a fierce, calculated order. The deep waters remembered, the kings endured, and a shift rippled through the very fabric of reality, not breaking, but transforming. Authority no longer flowed from the natural balance. It was now a force descending, structured, and uncompromising. When the Most High divided the nations, he established their boundaries based on the number of the sons of God. Deuteronomy 32:8 DSS. This was no mere observation. It was an invasion. The sons saw the kings not as ancient powers to respect, but as vestiges to be replaced. To heaven, this act was alignment. To the kings, it was an assault. The Bene Elohim didn't waver. They were pure light, fiercely loyal to the voice that commanded all thrones. But even light can cast long shadows upon unyielding ground. In those shadows, something remarkable stirred, not bitterness, but an awakening, a memory of a time when the realm thrummed with balance, now bearing the weight of divine decree. The suns pressed on, spinning planets into their destined orbits, layering dimensions, and igniting the mechanism of time itself. The veil that had long shielded the realms began to thin, yet the thrones beneath it stood resolute, unbroken. Within their silence, an ancient truth stirred, more profound than obedience. Dominion isn't simply given. It can just as easily be taken. And with that realization, the stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through eternity. The sons of God crafted a mesmerizing order, but it was the kings who ignited an unforgettable legacy. A legacy that rejected the relentless grip of time, burning with fierce intensity. This wasn't a blaze of fury. It was a spark of defiance, subtle, yet immensely powerful and undeniable. The immortal kings didn't need grand armies or billowing banners. Their rebellion wasn't about flashy displays, but the sheer strength of their existence. They raised their voices against the heavens simply by enduring, standing steadfast in the face of newly drawn lines, where heaven may have interpreted their silence as loyalty. In truth, it was a bold declaration of sovereignty, a resilience that refused to waver. Among these monumental figures, one shone the brightest, Malacca, the throne beneath the deep. Malacca wasn't just a name. He was a living legend, etched into the very essence of existence. His throne wasn't constructed, it emerged. In the realms where light twisted and time danced unsteadily. He didn't gather the kings with fiery oratory. Instead, he awakened their spirits with memories that stirred the depths of their hearts. He called forth a golden era of balance, unmarred by decrees, a vibrant realm pulsing with life, thriving on a rhythm that defied oppression. His words weren't mere flames, they carried the weight of gravity, drawing the thrones back into alignment, not for war, but for remembrance. The Bene Elohim observed the gathering with curiosity, yet they failed to unravel the profound truth, simmering beneath the surface. They saw the stillness, yet couldn't comprehend the magnetic force that lay hidden within. What threat could divine warriors identify if no conflict erupted? I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Isaiah 14:14. Once tethered to a fallen angel, but what if that ambition first echoed from a throne that never bent? Malach wasn't there to confront heaven. He was there to challenge its very essence, not in anger, but with unwavering conviction. If divinity resided in all beings, why should one order erase another? The kings weren't seeking conquest, they already embodied it. They stood watchful, not for the clash of swords, but for recognition. In the realm of the divine, memory isn't merely debated, it's reshaped. As the sons endeavored to seal the deep, they branded it as an act of protection, a purification ritual. But the veil was not drawn to shield the world. It was woven to contain what had been forgotten. The thrones didn't retreat. They embraced their entombment, for a throne, even hidden, remains a throne. Concealed, yes, but never truly forgotten. In the depths of the deep, memory thickened like an approaching storm. Identity surged in the shadows, and beneath the veil, where time slowed and meanings entwined, the kings stood unwavering. They were not in rebellion, but in fierce resilience. Not all battles erupt with noise. Some ignite with an unyielding presence, one that once molded the cosmos, now patiently, waiting to break free once more. No battlefield roared with chaos, no swords clashed and no blood was spilled, yet war raged on, an ancient clash so deep it transcended memory, so subtle it evaded language. This was not the clash of armies, but a confrontation of realms, two divine realities fiercely coexisting, each refusing to fade into the ether. The sons of God surged across the endless void like flames dancing on silk, their every step imposing structure, carving boundaries through a realm that had never known them. Their light didn't merely illuminate, it seized dominion. Yet hidden beneath this divine subjugation, the Immortal Kings remained. They did not resist with might. They did so by simply enduring. Their presence was not marked by violence, but by an unwavering constancy. And that very constancy became a form of defiance against the celestial command. The kings didn't rise in rebellion. Instead, creation itself began to tremble. With each song of order, the suns wove into the fabric. Of the void, the depths quaked, not from open rebellion, but from a profound contradiction. Order cannot overwrite essence without a price, and that price was distorted. The initial fractures were unseen, echoing only in tones. Rhythms unspooled, and dimensions lost their alignment. What once existed in harmonious balance now bristled. Under the weight of imposed order, the veil meant to separate realms began to thin, not from force, but from sheer incompatibility. Creation transformed into a tumultuous stage, not through a conflict of action, but through the existence of two diverging powers. The sons of God proclaimed their dominion with thunderous authority. The Immortal Kings met this proclamation with a profound silence. And that very silence shattered reality. It didn't collapse all at once, but spread like shimmering fault lines through eternity. While Genesis remains silent on these cosmic tremors, Revelation dares to whisper a shadowy truth. There was war in heaven. Revelation 12:7. That war may have come later, but this was the genesis of the conflict. No angel cried out, because none understood the great unraveling just yet. The veiled realms recoiled, not from a violent assault, but because of a devastating imbalance. The kings, steadfast and unwavering, were anchors to truths older than time itself. The sons of God sought to impose their will, to decree their dominion. But what cannot be extinguished cannot be ruled. What cannot be silenced cannot simply be forgotten. Heaven's response wasn't one of judgment, but of sheer force. A new divine logic took root, not annihilating the kings, but sealing them away. Containment replaced conquest. The veil thickened. History was no longer a straightforward tale. It was diverted and obscured beneath layers of cosmic logic. Creation settled into a fragile calm. Time donned its cloak and moved onward. Yet, beneath this serene facade, the thrones pulsated with life, not broken or bowed, merely hidden from sight. The sons of God continued their grand design, but true victory doesn't come merely from power. It originates from authorship. Those who script the beginning dictate which battles will remain unwritten. The war didn't end, it was merely paused. The battlefield wasn't cleansed, it was reimagined. And those sensitive enough to feel the tremors deep within the foundations of existence, they are tapping into an ancient memory, something older than light, older than angels, and far older than Genesis itself. Genesis bursts into existence with light, yet it leaves us hanging. What was lurking before the darkness? It chronicles order, but ignores the chaos that birthed it. This tale begins not from a blank slate, but from an ancient story, murky and unspoken. That silence isn't emptiness, it's a calculated removal. The Immortal Kings were not obliterated, they were concealed, not in acts of defiance, but in an eerie resonance. Their very existence threatened the new design, forcing it to adapt, not through honesty, but through deliberate erasure. The divine chose silence as a weapon and crafted that silence into scripture. The first act of divine intervention wasn't creation. It was concealment. Thrones hidden in the shadows were not denied, they were simply omitted. The memory of war faded into myth. The defiance of the kings transformed into a mere metaphor. The authentic beginnings were buried beneath a narrative proclaiming light's victory over the void. For if God did not spare the angels who sinned, 2 Peter 2:4 reveals that something was indeed shackled. But what were they before their fall? Enoch saw deeper truths, writing of watchers imprisoned beneath mountains, thrones wrapped in silence. His descriptions didn't evoke rebellion, but spoke of containment, not of evil, but of unwieldy power incompatible with the new order. Jude echoes this with, "The angels who did not keep their proper domain." Jude 1:6. But what if that domain wasn't about rebellion, but about regal sovereignty that refused to yield? What if they were not mere angels but kings? Scripture bears cracks where the rewritten narrative falters, revealing remnants of a different story. Job's inquiries remain unanswered by Genesis. Psalms hint at a divine counsel. Deuteronomy nods toward heavenly rulings over nations. These hints are no contradictions, their fingerprints left behind. The sons of God pursued their missions. The cosmos unfurled. Humanity was shaped. History commenced, but on a foundation built atop enforced silence. And forced silence is anything but peace. It is a simmering tension, longing to erupt. Heaven remembers. It enshrouds truths, and what remains veiled is not lost. simply hidden from those unworthy to witness. The tale we know was never the original. It was merely the first permissible iteration. The thrones still endure, buried, not shattered, dismissed, not defeated. And amid the fissures of scripture, in the shadows of ancient scrolls, echoes of kings rise again. The breathtaking story of a beginning that was never meant to be revealed whispers on the wind. They were erased, but they were not destroyed. The veil was pulled tight, securing the narrative. The creation story was polished, free of cracks. Yet erasure can't equate to annihilation. History can be rewritten and memories can be hushed, but what was never born cannot die. The kings were sealed beneath the layers of time, not punished, but safeguarded. Their existence was not regarded as evil, but was seen as too vast, too ancient, too disruptive for a cosmos favoring singular rulership. They morphed into shadows dancing behind the stars, silence lingering beneath sacred texts, an unrecognized power still palpable. And inch by inch, the divide between then and now began to blur. Not all of them stayed hidden. Some emerged, not in defiance but as a necessity. They seeped through fissures in reality, surfacing during moments when the world forgot the narrative it was fed and recalled what it once knew. They don't arrive brandishing crowns or roaring like fire. They come quietly, concealed and transformed, not broken, but forever altered. Their thrones are now memories walking in flesh. You've brushed past one, perhaps in a vibrant city, under flickering lights, or in a dream that felt hauntingly real. In those serene moments, just before something shifted or changed, a gaze locked onto yours with an unsettling familiarity. They no longer unveil themselves. The world has no place for thrones. Yet their eyes still flicker with ancient wisdom, heavy with histories our earth wasn't crafted to bear. They seek neither conquest nor adoration. They observe, and in their watching they remember. Memory, when exchanged across realms, transmutes into prophecy. They are not all dead. Not a line from scripture, but an age-old whisper transcribed on scrolls too ancient to name. An echo carried by those who awaken at night with names unremembered, emotions never experienced, and strength defying. Explanation: they wait, not for revenge but for balance. For the day, the foundation fractures and the veil falters, when what was sealed in mercy must rise to confront judgment. You won't see them approach. Their forms may escape recognition, but you will feel the return of something ancient, because the world will bend to embrace them or shatter in the attempt to resist. They are not gone, they never were. And now, the war rages on beneath the surface of Earth. Have you ever felt it? A faint hum vibrating just beneath the surface of reality. A subtle shift in the air that makes your skin prickle with unease. That sensation isn't mere imagination. It's an echo from something ancient, something far older than humanity itself, a memory buried deep within the essence of existence, waiting for you to awaken it. The war didn't end, it merely evolved. No longer confined to the heavens or banished to some forgotten abyss. It lives here, among us, hidden in plain sight, woven into the fabric of our daily lives, yet cloaked by a veil so cunningly crafted that most remain oblivious to its presence. We walk upon grounds steeped in the history of sealed thrones and untold power. Our cities teem with shadows, not empty voids, but living silhouettes cast by forces beyond mortal comprehension. Watchful eyes linger in every corner, observing silently and patiently, eyes that do not blink like ours, eyes that carry the weight of eons. The immortal kings never left. They were never truly gone. Their essence was concealed, yes, but concealment does not equate to erasure. And those who now claim dominion over this world, even they are haunted, though they may deny it. In quiet moments, when the noise of the modern world fades, they too peer over their shoulders into the darkness, sensing the weight of what lies unseen. The veil is not merely a barrier between heaven and the abyss. It is a division between what we perceive and what has always existed just beyond the edges of our awareness. The cosmic conflict before Genesis, the war that shaped creation, itself was thrust into obscurity, erased from the annals of time. Yet it persists, reverberating through the cracks of history, whispering in the margins of ancient scripture, and dancing in dreams that linger on the edge of coherence. It echoes still. You were never meant to remember. The truth was buried too deeply, the narrative rewritten too thoroughly. But now something stirs, a spark ignites. Perhaps it began with a fleeting encounter, a stranger whose gaze seemed to pierce through you, leaving behind an unsettling familiarity. Or maybe it started as a dream, vivid and haunting, filled with faces you've never seen but somehow know. Whatever the catalyst, the truth has awakened within you. If this revelation resonates deep within your soul, if you feel the pull of something greater, something timeless, know this: you are not alone. There are others like you, seekers who refuse to let the secrets of the past fade into oblivion. Together, we can uncover the hidden threads of history, piece the fragments of a story deliberately obscured, and shine a light on what was meant to remain veiled. Join the movement, subscribe to In Plain Sight, connect with voices that dare to challenge the silence, voices that refuse to let heaven's cover-up stand unchallenged. This is more than a story, it's a call to action. The truth is out there, waiting to be rediscovered. Will you answer the call?